Hi everyone, we're the Fan Brothers, and my name's Terry.
And I'm Eric, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about our newest picture book, It Fell from the Sky.
A special thanks to Ruri and Sun Young.
And we also want to say a big hello to all of our readers in Korea. We hope we can visit Korea someday and say hi to you all in person.
So we're going to tell you a little bit about how we created the book and about our illustration process in general.
Yeah, and the question we probably get asked more than any others is how we create the art together. And we hope this presentation helps answer those questions.
Yeah, we hope you enjoy this presentation. And so, without further ado, let's get started. Like most of our books, It Fell from the Sky began as a standalone image that Eric did about 10 years ago. When we're starting a book, we like to use an image as a springboard for our imagination. This is the original sketch Eric did that inspired the story. As you can see, it shows some insects wearing top hats surrounding a marble. We always felt like there was a seed of a good story there.
So as we went through the process of interrogating the image, the story slowly began to reveal itself. A good image to base a story around is one that seems to present a series of questions. In this case, it was, what do the insects make of this mysterious object, and how will they react to it? We eventually decided that one of the insects, a spider, would claim the marble as his own, and so the story became about greed and ultimately redemption, since the spider eventually learns that the most important things in life are what you share with the world, not what you take from it.
Another inspiration for this story is the fact that Eric and I both collected marbles when we were younger. Here you can see some of the marbles we collected over the years. As our collections grew, we learned that there are many different types of marbles. Some of the ones you see here are more than 100 years old. The oldest marbles were handmade, and you can identify a handmade marble by the two rough spots on its poles, called pontilles. That's where the glassmaker cut the marble from a longer cane of glass. All the various marbles have interesting names like onion skins, lattice core, Benningtons, and agates. But for our story, we chose the most common type of marble, which is the simple cat's eye marble. It's a machine-made marble, and probably the type of marble most of us played with as children. We chose the most ordinary marble because it was the most recognizable, and also because one of the themes of the book is finding the wondrous in the ordinary.
Every book begins with sketches. Here are some sketches from It Fell from the Sky. Sketches are a way of finding your way into the story and developing the overall look and style of the book. It's the same process we use for every book. Here are some examples from from The Night Gardener. here are some early sketches for Ocean Meets Sky. Our focus was on the character of Finn and his grandfather initially, since their relationship is so central to the story. And finally, here are some sketches from the antlered ship. You can see that a book can change from the initial sketch stage to the finished book. When you're sketching, it's a time to experiment and discover. Early on with the antlered ship, we had originally imagined the foxes as being anthropomorphic, but in the final book, the foxes were drawn more naturalistically.
After we've done sketches, the next stage in our process is to create what's called a rough dummy. A rough dummy is essentially the entire book in rough form. A rough dummy gives you an idea of how long the book will be and what the layout of the spreads will look like. It's an important stage for establishing pacing and for giving you a good guideline for the final book. A rough dummy will usually go through several drafts, and here is our final rough dummy before it fell from the sky.
And here's just another example of a rough dummy. This is the one we did for the Night Gardener.
We only begin final art after the rough dummy has been approved by our editor and art director. Books are a collaborative process, and the editor and art director will also have notes and creative input about the story and the overall design of the book. Eric and I will usually draw the final art in pencil, although recently we've been experimenting with drawing digitally as well. Here are some examples of final pencil art from It Fell from the Sky.
And here's a time lapse of Terry and I working together on one of those drawings. We'll sometimes work on a drawing together like this, or we'll each work on separate parts of an illustration and then composite them together later. It all goes back to the rough dummy because that's our blueprint for the finished book and what we're both using as a guide so that we're both on the same page. After we finish the drawing, we'll scan it and then bring it into Photoshop. As you can see, we draw the various elements of an illustration separately and then assemble them together in Photoshop to create the final image.
And here's that process in Photoshop. Once we have all the elements scanned, we bring them into Photoshop to assemble the final illustration at the correct dimensions for the book trim. As you can see, we work in layers. So it's a little bit like animation, where you have a background and then various elements are added above the background. Working in layers gives us a lot of flexibility. It allows us to change an illustration or adjust a specific element to accommodate text. Here's one more example of a spread from It Fell from the Sky. Depending on the illustration, we can end up with quite a few layers. For our most complicated scenes, we'll occasionally have hundreds of different layers. So it's important to stay quite organized, otherwise the files can become unmanageable.
And here's just another example of that same process from Ocean Meets Sky. You can see the process is essentially the same, except in this case, we're also adding layers of color to the image. Any coloring we do is done the same way using layers beneath pencil art.
And that's basically our entire process for making a book from start to finish. We hope you enjoyed our presentation. We'll leave you with some images from It Fell from the Sky, some of our favorite spreads. Thank you so much for watching and listening in. And thanks again to our publisher, Book Good Come, and all our readers in Korea.